And we're back. Here we are speaking with John Carroll. How's it going?
Good.
2 songs in, things are going well.
Yeah.
And if you heard some noise in the last little segment, it's because Tom, who's over there now, who's a previous guest on our show, was pounding on the door at the same time. So
yeah, I'm sorry for swearing.
We took it, we got it all under control.
He's safely in the building now.
He is. He's good. He's over on stage now. You said earlier that you did the trip over to the Middle East, but you've also you lived out west for a while.
Yeah,
and I think you've lived a couple other places too, haven't you?
I've mostly lived. I mean, I lived out west and moved around. Like I lived on Vancouver Island and in the Okanagan and in Alberta and in Northern California. Like I spent about 8 years, sort of generally living in that area. Right.
And what took you out there was just kind of to go and.
I woke up one morning in March. I was in Ottawa, and it was like freezing cold, and there had been some kind of ice storm. And I was walking to work, and it was 6 a.m, and I had like my shirt wrapped around my face because it was so cold, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here, man. And a week later, I was gone. Like I just quit my job, and I was like, I can't take this climate anymore. That was before. The kids, you might not know this, but this used to be a really cold place in the winter. But
now it's a tropical wonderland.
That was before the tropical wonderland. But yeah, so I just it was kind of one of those things, and I was just like, and I knew that it was a more temperate climate there, and so I went out there and sort of didn't really know anybody and started busking. And that's what got me in. I actually met up with the dude, and he was like, "There's guys out there playing guitar," and I had a guitar with me, playing guitar, and their case is full of like money and smokes, and I'm like, "Well, it can't be that hard." So I actually wrote like 3 songs. I made them up. I didn't know any songs on guitar, and I'd never really sang. And so I actually made up like 3 songs and just started busking. And every day I'd go to the library and like borrow songbooks and learn songs that I was kind of familiar with and memorize them, and then I began playing shows and playing with other people in that context, and so I mean it was just like I had to get out of it was climate that made me do it.
I can understand that.
It was just like one of those notoriously cold Ottawa it's cold snaps, right, where it's like it was like, man.
Yeah, there have been several of those, but I've thought about it too. But that means, now I've got the kids to move.
Yeah, I had nothing. I had nothing
it's a lot
holding.
harder to go now.
Yeah, I had nothing holding me here, so I was just like, might as well do it, right?
Yeah.
Go west, young man.
I've read in a few pieces with you that you find Tom Waits to be something of an influence.
Yeah, maybe not so much now, but for a while he was definitely. Like just, a lot of the aspects of what he'd done, and like a lot of the sonic type exploration he'd done, and of course his lyrics. I still find him to be brilliant lyricist, but I mean, I think there's been a lot of different stuff that I've drawn inspiration from, but I mean, definitely I think he's one of the great songwriters of our time, and a real artist in the sense that he, he's discovered his own sort of thing and really, really expanded it and created an amazing oeuvre with it, but
Do you see yourself expanding your own kind of musical palette?
Sure. I mean, I feel like, for me, like a lot of that is just playing and doing it without spending too much time being self-conscious about it, although you can't help that, obviously, but I feel like I'm definitely learning. It's a funny thing because I feel like songwriting is something that takes a long time to develop, and I mean, even with a guy like Tom Waits, I feel like you can really trace his development, and his early stuff, while it's good, is not really the meat and bones of what he did, and he's sort of more in a mimicking phase for a long time, but I feel like, for me, that's the goal, is to develop, to allow it to develop and to play and enjoy doing it and enjoy the process. And a lot of songwriting for me involves finding ways to make it enjoyable, like not necessarily setting a goal, but just because it's something you spend a lot of time doing, it's got to be, make more sense than washing dishes or doing something else, right?
Right.
Where there's maybe a little more security.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
I know you do play a lot. Like you look at your gig listing and just
Yeah.
always happening. And I know, as we mentioned off the top, you play at Chateau Lafayette across the street every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
So go see him on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's free. Starts at 8 for people who have lives, and goes for people who may have later occurring lives in the day. Yeah.
And you find playing regularly like that in one spot, how do you, because there's regulars, people come and go, but how do you find keeping it, I guess, interesting every week, playing a regular gig like that?
I find it's a great challenge and to keep it interesting. And, I find you have to, as a performer, I feel like it's been one of the core things that's made me a better performer. And I think a lot of it has to do with, there's something, when I just did a tour out east and to Newfoundland, and it's so nice to be able to go and play for audiences who mostly have never heard you live before.
Yeah.
And just do everything fresh, and you can use all your best banter and everything. But I think it's what the playing at the Laugh has taught me is like often I'll get the same people coming back again and again. So if I was to just sit up there and sort of redo what I'd already done, I think it might get boring and it might wear out. But I feel like it's taught me to be a more spontaneous performer, and even when I'm playing the same songs, to be more open to, in the moment, musical occurrences that make them more interesting and more sort of pertinent to the room that's happening. And the great thing about it is that some nights it'll be a room full of people where you can hear a pin drop, and then some nights it'll be a rowdy, like really challenging environment, which at first I found really hard. Yeah. But now I like it because I have to find a different way. And I'm not saying I always succeed, but that I have to find a different way of engaging these different sort of shaped beasts of audience, right? Right. Which aren't actually beasts at all. I'm sorry, but
they're lovely people.
They're lovely people. But yeah, so it gives me an opportunity to in some ways it might be a little more forgiving, so if things don't work out, then there's always next week, right? It's like any job, right, where it gives you more of a day in, day out kind of perspective. But I think I can attribute a lot of my musical growth to that environment, and there's some advantages too, like the sound setup is always the same, so that makes it easier. Like that can be a really stressful thing when you're playing different venues, But yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Well, how about we end off with one more song? Like I'm sure they scream, one more song.
Yeah, encore.
What can you do for us to finish off?
Let's see. Oh man. I think I'll play for you. Drum roll. I'll just do a drum roll, really long drum roll.
Be sweet.
It would be, yeah. Let's see. I'll do a newer tune of mine called Big Leg Ida that hasn't been recorded, and it's sort of an ode to large women. So,
all right.
Yeah.
World exclusive.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, John.
Thank you so much
really
for having me.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. There's a little song. Should I talk about the song at all?
Sure.
This is inspired by a song by Reverend Gary Davis called Candyman. And in the third verse of the song, he sings about this woman named Big Leg Ida. And just him repeating her name over and over again. It's kind of a joyously lustful inflection in his voice. And I thought, this woman needs a whole song to herself. So I took the liberty of giving her that. Stop a train with a love so heavy that it'll ride on my brain. There's a lot to love, if you know what I mean. And she's the heaviest woman that I ever seen. The heaviest woman that I ever seen. Well, she's good with a pistol, she can hard as a gun, and she can whistle a fistful and get the job done. She's bound to get me down on my knees. I'm always thinking about her, always begging her please. I'm always thinking about her, always begging her please. Yeah, to start at the bottom and I work to the top across 3 time zones before I finally stop. Take it from the top, work it down low. I'll be a fool to rush. You got to take it slow. It's almost a crime, like loving 4 skinny women all at the same time. Always satisfied when the loving's done. You know the big leg Ida got love by the ton. She got a lot of love. Yeah, she make it so hard when she shake her behind, and when she move to the music, make me lose my mind. Wanna get on top when she jiggle and shake. She's a force of nature, make the whole world quake. A force of nature, make the whole world quake. I start at the bottom and I work to the top. Cross 3 time zones before I finally stop. I take it from the top and work it down low. I'll be a fool to rush. I can take it slow. Yeah, a big leg out of she could stop a train. Well, a love so heavy that it right on my brain. There's a lot to love, if you know what I mean.